All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Reactionary Opinions. It is Wednesday, November 4th, and it's 8 o'clock, and the votes are starting to tally for the US elections, or not starting, but an interesting result seems to have emerged. I remained skeptical of what was going to happen in the elections, in the US elections. I never, at some stage, I thought it was going to be a landslide. I mean, you look at Trump's rallies and all of that, and you think, geez, like this. And then you see Biden's COVID rallies and stuff, and it's just a joke. But I always thought Trump was going to take it, but it clearly looks like it would seem as if Biden's on his way to taking it. Can you believe it? Creepy Joe Biden.
Yeah, well, look, it just shows you that things are tribal, isn't it? Doesn't matter who your representative is, as long as he's from your tribe.
Yeah, that's the whole thing. I mean, Biden can't even string a sentence together.
But he's from your tribe.
He's from your tribe, and he represents your tribe. Then you vote your tribe.
Yeah. But that's basically the. I mean, for goodness sakes, I mean, politics is not supposed to be your football club. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like Man United.
You know what I mean? This is not like you're a lifelong Man. It's like, these political hacks are lifelong tribal football supporters. They got their team, and it's just.
And also, like people tend to vote based on one or two points rather than taking the principles that this person, potential president or whatever, that you're now going to vote for, rather than taking all their economic policies, their social policies, and all of that, and sort of looking at them and saying, well, I'm not really pro-abortion, and and measuring up which one's more important to, and voting like that. It doesn't exist like that anymore. It's just basically.
Look, I mean, the thing is basic for me on the balance of things. On the balance of things, the Biden tribe are a bunch of tyrants. They want to end the First Amendment. They want to end all the basic
first, second, every amendment that you can think of. They want to take your guns. They want to take your freedom of speech.
They want to take. Well, actually, the very first thing they're going to do is freedom of speech.
Freedom of speech, yeah.
That's the main thing they're going to take.
Prepare for like next level, censorship.
You see, the thing is, the problem is like good people think they can vote their way out of things. No, don't worry, we'll just play nicely and that sort of thing. And unfortunately,
your way out of this.
And the problem is, admittedly, I think it's okay. We were just kicking the can down the road anyway.
Yeah. So this is what we. Okay. So tonight's stream is not necessarily analyzing the numbers.
No, we're not going to do that.
Looking state by state, what percentages and what happened and all that sort of thing. Look, there's clearly, I mean, it's as clear as day. And I mean, maybe I might be missing something here with postal votes and all that sort of thing. But, I mean, it's clear as day. There's a section or a portion where, in Michigan specifically, and other states as well, where Joe Biden literally gets 100,000 votes, 100% of those votes out of nowhere, just 100%.
After 90% of the votes already been counted.
Yeah, you could do that after 50%,
or even you hear
70, 80%.
No, not quite that, but you get away with it between 40 and 55%. Maybe you could maybe pass, but not at 90%.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean that's. But I think a broader thing is that people must realize that the problem for me is it's not that Joe Biden has won, right? That's not the problem for me. The problem for me is now the way in which it's been won. All right, it now undermines democratic process and elections in the world's biggest democracy.
Well, this is the whole thing, and that creates a precedent then for other countries.
So now America cannot enforce its elections on anybody else morally. So in other words, they can't go and say anybody else has rigged the
South
election.
Africa or Zimbabwe, you've rigged an election.
Oh, well, they're going to go. Zimbabwe's going to say, really?
Well, really, you guys just did it.
So
what now?
That's the big scary thing for me. And basically, what that means for me, it just means that more and more power. Essentially, more and more power will just get subordinated worldwide power to big corporations and the United Nations.
Oh yeah.
And Agenda 2030. So this is really strengthens Agenda 2030 and the chaos that comes with it is working very nicely. They simply have to. They've got this death cult. They think the world's going to end by 2030 unless they do something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Only problem is the United Nations is doing something.
Unless they implement sustainable development.
Well, that's Agenda 2030. Which is just basically a death cult. Kill enough people, or at least take away their livelihoods, or kill them so that we can all live forever. Basically, that's what they're
taking away their livelihoods is essentially
killing them. Yeah, that's what the whole plan is. And yeah, the idea is to get as much chaos and disorder.
Well, this is why I think. Okay, now for those of you that are watching or listening or whatever, you would have noticed. I mean, if you've been following these elections closely, you would have noticed at about 1 o'clock, our time, South African time, the electoral votes and stuff just paused. There was nothing for a long period, and then all of a sudden the votes started coming in slowly.
I remember in 2016, 9 o'clock South African time, it was over. 9 o'clock South African time, it was over.
Yeah, I remember 100%. Yeah.
8 o'clock. When I started work in the morning at 8, 9 o'clock, it was over.
So is COVID really that much of an issue? I mean, everywhere else I've heard says the voting stations are dead. Every place I've seen. I mean, I've spoken to friends of mine in the US who went to go vote, and they said the voting stations were empty. It was empty. It was a breeze to go and vote. It took them 15 minutes to go and vote. So what now? Where does this delay come from? And it's purposeful because they had to delay it and they had to boost it. Like these votes, these Biden votes and stuff just exploded on the scene out of nowhere. But they had to do it that way. They had to create a storm.
Now, look, I think also the idea is that if you can create as much sort of chaos, it still weakens the overall bureaucracy. So you basically, what I'm getting at is that with America's internal democracy and bureaucratic process and administration and transfer of power and all that sort of thing being undermined, essentially what it does is it transfers a lot of by default, transfers a lot of power that the US would have had now to a new global body.
Well,
that's the whole plan.
Brace yourself for basically sustainable development now being punted in every angle you can think of. I mean, Joe Biden's going to be up there saying, I support socialism, and it'll just be like that. But he will only be president for 3 months, and then Kamala Harris will come.
He won't last more than about 18 months max.
Oh, jeez, you're generous. I say they're going to get him in there in 3 months. It'll happen very quickly. They've only got technically they've got 4 years to make things happen.
No, but anyway, like I was saying, Trump was going to be gone in 4 years anyway, and then what?
Well, this is the whole thing.
The problem is not going away.
Well, this is the whole thing. So this is what this stream is about tonight. Is about the idea of, okay, it's happened now. What now? Technically it hasn't happened. It hasn't been. It's not, sealed yet. But I mean, in my mind, it looks like it's a Biden win. So what happens next?
Well, the problem is that the tribes, all right. In the old days, there wasn't this great chasm or schism or chasm between the two tribes. You know what I mean? It was just basically administrative, the differences.
Yeah.
All right. It was administrative. Now it's ideological.
Now it has become severely ideological. Yeah.
And that's the problem. It means once you're ideological, the two tribes are separated on ideology rather than an administrative, better way of doing things.
So yeah, like for example, economic policy, social policy, and that sort of thing. It's no longer that. It's Republicans racist, Democrats liberators of all black people, and
the helpers and
the progressives, and all that. So we are the angels of the world, kind of.
Yeah.
And that's basically where you are now. And that's why there's so much of this massive polarization in the US, because you have the Republicans who are viewed by the Democrats as, Nazis.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think it's just a matter of, I think, let's be honest, all right? The Democrats always think they can swindle, cheat, all that sort of thing. And they're narcissistic in that there's no self-reflection, okay? Yeah. There's no self-inward reflection, because they're not good people, all right? Okay, I'm speaking very, very broadly.
Very broad. I mean, let's say the Democrats in the political sphere,
in the bureaucracy,
in the bureaucracy,
in the bureaucracy, yes, not in the street, not on the
the voters, no,
not the voters,
but the ones within the bureaucracy are terrible, the worst people you can imagine.
And I mean, the thing is, they're narcissistic, so there won't be any self-reflection. There'll only be pointing of fingers. There won't be and that means you can't reason with people like that. And that's what I'm saying is that it's just kicking down the can down the road anyway. And I don't know if it's a good thing. It may be that we just got it over with now. There was going to be a Democratic president in 4 years' time. 90% chance.
But I do honestly think, Russell, I do honestly still think that they had to make it obvious that they were rigging the thing.
To create the chaos.
The anger, because let's face it, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, yeah, but you're just sour now because Trump's not president." I'm like, no. If Trump won or if Trump lost fair and square, I would say, okay, and that's what most Republicans would do. They would say, okay, fine, we'll now regroup and we'll campaign now for the next 4 years. That's what they would have done. Because conservatives are generally peacekeeping people. Okay? But they had to make it seem like they were rigging it. And they had to make it obvious.
I think it was done on purpose. Yeah,
it was done completely on purpose. They had to make it obvious that they were rigging it. And that's that. I mean, they're trying to create chaos because they know that Republicans, I mean, sure, I personally think Donald Trump probably would have had something to say if he had have lost fair and square. He probably would have had something to say, but either way, he would have accepted it.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately and finally, yeah. But I mean, look, everybody. It basically what I mean is. What it generally means, it basically means new, greater, sweeping changes on the world scene, and I think basically what it means going forward is more persecution of Christians. It means more, and I'm being dead honest here. All right. But basically, I hope all this peace dealing in the Middle East holds its line, because Trump cleaned up the Middle East beautifully. That's the one thing he did very well. The Democrats wanted to.
They want all-out chaos.
They want all-out chaos in the Middle East,
and that's what they're going to get.
And that's what worries me is that when I still remember going back to 2016. I was basically there were only two reasons why I wanted Trump to win. One was I knew that there were going to be appointments onto the Supreme Court. That was the one. That was the first thing. And the second of all was the Middle East and how Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama had turned the Middle East into a blooming crisis zone through their supporting of ISIS and all that sort of thing and nonsense and Benghazi and all the scandals. It was just getting out of hand. So those were my only two reasons, really, why I can think of why I supported back Trump. And besides that, that's it. That's it, really.
Because you got to understand, like, these sort of things, like, a lot of people are like, why are you talking about US politics and stuff? You live in South Africa. It doesn't impact you. I'm like, well, I mean, it literally does. It's literally the greatest power in the world.
It does. There's a massive impact. What it basically means is if America gets behind the New World Order more, it means more radical policies pushed worldwide. If America is not behind the New World Order as much, then it's not radical policies pushed as hard worldwide.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what it comes down to.
Not just like some nosy oaks that want to put their noses in other countries. I mean, if Lesotho has elections, I couldn't give a rat's ass about Lesotho's elections,
No.
But if the United States has elections, you can rest assured that the whole world is watching.
Basically, the New World Order needs the bureaucracy in America on their side.
Of course.
To enforce their policies, to really have a New World Order. You can't have a New World Order without America on board.
No, you can't. And that's why the US is highly targeted.
Correct.
That's why you've seen all this unrest and radical leftist ideas.
Yeah, well, look,
like
I'm tired of being called conspiracy theorist, New World Order. Please, man, open your eyes.
Yeah, just have a look around you. I mean,
come on, guys. Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Come on, man.
Like Joe Biden. Come on, man. Come on, man. Yeah, but that's that's
literally how it all depends. I'll put it this way, and it's not. And pushing up a worldwide New World Order agenda is basically there's been no real difference between Democrat and Republican until Trump. Regarding
the Republicans were always full on board with
they were
Agenda 21 and with the New World Order and stuff. You see, the thing is, even locally, like, if you think that the top three political parties here are anti-New World Order, you cooked.
No, well, they're fully on board. They're bigger internationalists.
Yeah, I mean, all of these guys, all of these political shills, all of these bureaucrats and stuff are all 120% dedicated to the New World Order.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know, Alex Jones has probably been talking about it for 30 years now.
Well, you see, it's easy to win over politicians. You know why? Because politicians love the ideas, when people come to them, we're going to have this, you're going to be able to say that this is internationally approved and everybody's doing it and blah, blah, blah. Politicians just love to be part of the bigger game.
They do.
They love it. So
especially our government.
Our government, just like they love every time there's an opportunity to say or do something at the United Nations, they are there.
They are there.
When the United Nations issues a recommendation,
front row,
they want to sign it. They're the first ones. They sign everything and anything. Doesn't matter what it does to the ordinary South African.
Yeah.
And that's what people don't realize about the pervasiveness of the. There's all around the world. There's very little pushback from governments. Very few governments push back. I mean, like so-called, and I'm talking historically, jurisprudence, law-abiding, the country of laws, constitutionalism, democracy. All countries like Australia, New Zealand,
lap it up.
Ireland. Canada, they lap it up. They love it.
Trump was like the only leader in like
40 years,
generations.
Yeah,
that went like Davos and stuff and just said to them, "Hey, Oaks, no, he has a toffee."
Yeah, that's what I like.
Yeah, no, sorry. And when he did that, I was like, "What?" But now he's the last guy you're going to see ever do that. So.
Yeah.
He's the last guy you're going to see ever do that. Believe me, those of you that are watching.
Well, this is what I'm saying.
Trump is the last good guy that the US in its current state is going to.
That's what I'm saying. It was just kicking the can. What was going to happen after Trump anyway? You know.
Yeah, Trump bought the US 4 more years of glory and stuff, but now I'm telling you, it's going to be next level.
Well, look, I mean, the thing is, are we talking about how it affects the rest of the world and its greater world dynamics and that sort of thing? So now, basically, the New World Order has been held back for a while because America's executive branch hasn't been on board as much. Now it's going to change. You know?
Although one of the, like you mentioned, one of the best things that Trump did is the Supreme Court appointments and stuff, which is I think people right now or tomorrow or whatever when let's say Biden is nominated, I think people are going to underestimate how important that is that Trump managed to get. I mean, it's not. I mean, as far as I know, the Supreme Court has generally always been conservative, more conservative than not. But to have it, I think it's 6-3 now. I think 6 conservative.
Yeah, well, look, Gorsuch and Kennedy can go either way. So it's actually 3-3
with 2.
It's 4. Yeah, it's more like
centrists.
Yeah. Which are dangerous. Well, Kennedy. Oh, anyway, but I'm not going to. Like I said, I don't want to get too involved in internally. But as far as Americans internally go, the way I see the American presidency, the American president can't really affect as much internal policy because the Senate and the House can block him the whole time.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of basically, and by the time he tries to get something through, it's his terms ended. So it's a change. So basically,
it's incredibly difficult.
So it's incredibly difficult. So internally for America, we'll see what happens. Generally speaking, a president is not as powerful internally. So that's why presidents are politicians primarily, their legacy is always one of international affairs.
Yeah.
Because that's where they can actually exercise their.
Well, this is the thing, is that's what the globalists really want, is they want to be able to control that, and then what they will do then is they will impact social reform and stuff through other means, like if you read Agenda 21, through the ideas of the environment, social reforms, all of these sort of things. The economy, economic reform, resets, and all these things. Like, they'll be able to influence people through that. Because if you read Agenda 21, the document, it is a real document. It's not like made up. It's not a theory. It's conspiracy fact. Harrison. So if you read it, it actually reads quite nicely. I mean, if you're like a basic oak and you're reading it and stuff, and you're like, wow, this sounds great. This really sounds amazing. I can get behind this. That's why it's such an easy sell.
Well, look, I mean, the thing is, politicians are generally imbeciles because they only ever talk for a living and spend other people's money.
Yeah,
how good can you be? How good a person can you be if you only ever spend other people's money and talk?
Yeah, no, bureaucrats are really like. I mean, you know how many guys in South African politics, like John Steenhuisen is a prime example as well. Never worked a day in his life.
Never had a job.
Never had a job a day in his life.
Julius Malema is another one.
Julius Malema also. They just worked for the DEA or the ANC or whatever it is.
Spending other people's money.
Never worked a day in his life. Never had to hustle. Like, never ever had to hustle.
Well, we don't know. Not since they became politicians. You don't know where they come from.
Yeah, but you know what I mean.
As adults, I'm
pretty confident John Steenhuisen went to a private school and fancy.
I don't know. But I know that he joined the DA and became a ward councillor or something like that when he was 22 or something.
Ward councillor. That's also a nothing job. That.
Yeah. So
stand around and twiddle your thumbs and get paid a massive salary for doing that. That's also bullshit. That's not work.
Oh, well, exactly. This is what I'm getting at. Is you basically you talk and debate on. You talk all day and you debate on spending other people's money.
Yeah, exactly.
That's politics.
Yeah, and you also well, you debate and push the narrative of how to spend other people's money that your party pushes. So even, I mean, you're just a massive puppet to your party. I mean, it's just so.
But yeah, look, I mean, as far as internally, the other sort of idea that, you know, people around the world have also got to. This is for people around the world. It can't basically. I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but you can't avoid what is coming. You've got the United Kingdom going into some sort of stupid hard lockdown for no reason whatsoever. They voted for it in Parliament, and it was
overwhelming.
It was lockdown. 515 for and 38 against, or something.
Sickening, man.
I mean, that's just pure sick. That's sick. All right, that is sick. All right, and you know, use that as an example of so-called legal process. I mean, it's a joke. It doesn't matter if they pass the law of lockdown. Fundamentally, in principle, you cannot impose those laws and regulations on a free society.
No, you can't.
Fundamentally, it doesn't matter what law you pass in a parliament. In the UK, basically, they've got 1,000 years of English common law. That law that they passed is anti-Magna Carta and English common law.
It's also, I mean, what COVID has done is it's given them unrestricted control. That's the whole thing.
Yeah, but
it's given them unfettered
control. The fear of COVID has given them the control.
Of course. Well, I mean, obviously, I mean, you know, and it's not necessarily, yes, it is primarily the politicians' fault for pushing garbage stuff, but it's also secondarily, it's the people.
That's the first thing, because generally people must now start to realize the way the election has gone in the US, the way this thing has gone in the UK, the way things recently are going in other parts of the world. Sorry guys, we're on our own. Your institutions are flawed. You cannot trust institutions anymore.
They are ruined and corrupt.
Sorry, guys. There's no more institutions. So
there's no relying on any systems.
The idea, what I would say to you is, prepare to defend yourself. Right? I mean, I don't mean defending yourself that you have to buy a firearm, man, and all this. You don't have to buy a firearm. All you have to do is say no. That's it.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That's defending yourself.
Although buying a gun and stuff is a good thing.
Well, buying a gun doesn't really help much against. It helps for self-protection against criminals.
Yeah, it's not going to help you.
But it's not going to help you against the government much. You know, they've got more firepower. So, but what I'm getting at is that ultimately and finally, you have to learn to say no more. So when they call for lockdowns, you must go, what lockdown?
Yeah, meh.
What?
Yeah, this is the thing, and you just have to do that. Like, people just have to say enough's enough. The will of the people is surprisingly powerful. That is
basically, so internally in America, they start being tyrannical internally with people. They're going to start persecuting the Christian church in America. They're going to start doing all this sort of thing. And basically now it's got to be up to these people. Are they going to be more basically, that's another interesting topic that's going to come up, because church leaders have to realize, are they going to put everything on the line?
Are they willing to put everything?
Are they willing to put everything on the line? Lose their ministries, their churches and their networks and their ministries where they're leading 4,000 or 5,000 people? Are they prepared to lose all that? No, probably not.
Probably not. Yeah, that's the scary part.
That's the one thing I admire about John MacArthur. He basically said, "Well, come and get me." I think he also realized the reason why he did it was He was the front man of it. The reason why he did it, he's 80 years old. He's got nothing to lose anymore. So it's like,
you better believe they're going to come for him now.
Yeah, they're going to come for him now.
He's ended now.
Yeah, but
they'll come for him now.
He can't back down
Make
now.
an example of him.
Yeah.
They will make an example of him in a big way.
No, they will come for him now.
Yeah. This is the whole thing. Is the narrative now, like all Trump was just a push on the brake pedal for a bit. Now it's momentum is behind it. The rest of the world, the UK, massive lockdowns.
It might have been enough time.
COVID, all of these things.
It might have been enough time just to get the zeitgeist out there as to what is going on. It might have just been enough time.
Might have been, yeah.
We don't know. Time will tell.
I just don't think people are that concerned about it. Though.
Well, look, whether they're concerned about it or not, it's going to come first, isn't it? That's what I say.
Yeah, I think so.
Whether you're concerned about it or not, it's going to affect you. That's the thing.
Yeah. Open another beer there. Or...
That's the thing.
Cheers. Yeah, that is the thing. I don't know. I mean, if I say that I'm disappointed, or if I said that I'm not disappointed, I'd be lying. Obviously, I'm disappointed by the results. But again, it is a good point that maybe 4 years would have just bought the world a little bit more time. But sometimes it's better just to get these things over with,
Let it happen now. At least we know where we stand, and we can. There's no. The worst. No. Are we in a fight? Are we not in a fight? Are we in a fight? Are we? I can't handle that. The fight is here. The fight's here. Then okay. Fast bait.
Yeah, it's going to get messy out there. Seriously messy. It sucks because 2016 was such a lacquer year. Now 4 years down the line, we have to sit here and be like, okay, all right. I think 2016 might have just been it was just a break. It was just a break.
Eye of the storm.
Yeah, the eye of the storm. And now we are moving into the story. But again, I mean, it's not guaranteed, but either way, we need to start preparing ourselves for the storm. Well, either way, if Trump wins, we still need to start preparing ourselves for the storm.
Oh, well, it's just, I don't think, like I say, I wonder if I just want whatever these guys have got planned, I want them to unleash everything on us on once so that we can know where we are.
What do you think? What do you think will happen? Like, what do you think the oaks on the right do? I mean, I don't see a lot of the guys and stuff. I don't see. Or maybe in the US, I mean, they might have large enough groups of people there to do it. But I don't see the oaks sort of taking up arms.
No. You don't need to take up arms. There's no need for that. All you need to do is just learn to say no. We're not going to listen to you.
Yeah, but how? I mean,
I'm using this as an example. Okay, America is set up quite nicely for localized government, right? Okay, so the counties have school districts, right? Okay, now if the parents, all right, are not happy with radical indoctrination of their kids, they've got to fight it.
Gay live sex shows and
all sorts of libraries. I'm using this as an example. That is something they've got to show zero tolerance. Almost be as violent, as aggressive as these intolerant.
They were.
Yeah. You've got to take no prisoners, and that's basically what it's got to come down to.
I don't think it's going to come down to.
I'm using that as one example.
And charge.
No, it's not come down to that. That's not. Basically, what I'm saying is. A lot of people, there was an interesting comment I saw on social media today, well, I think I actually saw it yesterday. Yeah, yesterday, sometime before the election, actually, results started coming in, saying that it doesn't matter if Trump wins, the cultural war is lost.
I made that comment.
Yeah, was it you?
Yeah. I said no. Well, it was basically it was Dumo Denga that said, I'm starting to think that it's going to be a Biden win. And I said, I think what you might be saying there is that even if Trump wins, the culture war might already be lost. And that's the difficult one, and that's the difficult part. And like there is like young people today who are not. I don't know if I can trust them. I don't know if they're going to resist what the globalists.
You see, the thing is, a lot of these guys think that human behavior is predictable, and it is to a large degree. But never underestimate people, how a spirit can move amongst people, and their views and outlooks can change radically.
Yeah.
Good and bad.
I always say.
So don't be careful.
I always say Christianity was started by one Messiah and 12 disciples.
Well, yeah.
So
this is the thing. I mean, and also the ordinary Christians that were part of that movement back then basically lived out their Christianity regardless. So they lived out their values regardless. What everybody said.
I mean, a lot of them in their latter years and stuff were completely persecuted and tortured and horribly treated. But so they were like, okay, what? That was the idea, is that we are disciples of Christ. We are here to build the kingdom, which is essentially what building the kingdom is converting people to Christianity. And you can kill me, so.
Yeah, my words and my logos starting forever.
Yeah, exactly. And I made a comment about this in one of my videos that I made about fatherhood. Something that really scares me is not or my me dying and my daughter being without a father and stuff. But I know and I understand that whatever lessons I can teach her will live on forever. You understand? And that's what legacy is about. Even if my daughter lives till 90 or whatever it is, and I die when my daughter's 22 or whatever it is, I've still taught her everything, and that'll live on forever.
But I mean, the thing is, even if you die before she comes of age or whatever, you must remember, even if there's no father, there's always the logos.
Yeah, there's always Christ.
Yeah,
this is the thing: Christ and our Father in heaven. So but I just, the globalists, they do have a serious agenda against us, and they hate this sort of talk. They absolutely hate it. So people ask, like, how do you defeat these guys? And understand logos.
Yeah, well, understand what they are first and foremost. It's anti-logos, and anti-logos cannot defeat logos.
No, of course not. It's order always prevails.
Like,
this is the whole thing. Like,
that's what a lot of people don't realize about this whole thing, is that, yes, at the end of the day, we win, no matter how bad it gets. I'm going to die, yes, so.
But people say to me, but the battle's already lost. We're already dead. You might as well, you're as good as dead.
That's exactly what they want you to think.
Yeah, that's exactly. I'm like, well, you literally shilling for the globalists by talking to me like that.
Yeah.
You're literally like, oh, well, roll over and play dead. Okay, globalist. Are you shilling for the globalists?
That's just shills.
That's the thing, and
those are what you call conservatives.
Yeah, geez, conservatives are the worst. And we've basically, our entire channel is a lot about the criticisms of conservatism. So conservative Inc. and neocons and that sort of thing, because
conservatives that don't conserve
culturally conservative, or
conservatives that don't conserve,
like conquest's rule. Like, everyone is conservative about things they know best. Like, no, that's not true. That's not what conservatism is. That might be a very plastic humanist view of conservatism. But Conservatism has to be backed by Christianity, otherwise it's not conservative. Sorry. Because from the moment that something comes into existence, it decays. Unless it is met with an opposing force
to keep it in place. Yeah, to keep it in place.
And certain things are degenerate, certain things are not degenerate. So you cannot fundamentally be conservative about degenerate things.
No, you can't. They don't.
Everyone's like, well, I'm gay. I love being gay, so I'm conservative because I want to conserve gayness. I'm like, no, how are you going to conserve gayness?
There's nothing worth conserving.
Well, not only that, it's just how are you going to do it?
No, because it doesn't
reproduce.
It's not
conservative in nature.
Doesn't blossom into anything.
No, it's not conservative in nature.
It doesn't create anything.
Conserve it.
Yeah.
So how are you going to do that? What's your argument now? Oh, I'll adopt children and stuff, but you didn't do that. That's not that. Some other couple, man and woman, made a baby and gave it to you. That's not conservative. How's that conservative? You're basically taking someone else's stuff. It's not conservative. Conservative is something that spawns naturally and is conserved naturally. That's conservative. It's a different thing. We're just about ready to go. We've got like 6 people watching. No one's commenting in the comment section. We can see your comments, guys. I know the wizard signed on. He probably left already. But he said, good evening, chaps. It looks like it's been a bit quiet tonight. Everyone's, I guess everyone might be just sort of drowning their sorrows and all of that because of Trump's apparent loss. But yeah, Wizard says, bunches of numbnuts still vote for them. Go figure. Look, I do think that there was a lot of this. I'm going to vote Biden just because he's not Trump kind of thing. It's the tribal.
Yeah, it's tribal stuff.
It's tribalism. It's predictable and it's just childish.
It's exactly what Oswald Mosley said. He wished to end the strife of parties.
Yeah. How did he expect to do that?
By basically
waving a magic wand or something.
No, he basically, the idea was he had a plan, like a roadmap, whereby people would run their own. People would run everything through oversight. They would elect people onto boards of corporations to run everything.
So it's like corporatism.
Yeah.
But almost like a direct democracy.
Direct democracy, yeah. Direct democracy. So basically, your elected official, you'll have your directors of a corporate that would say now, for instance.
So the corporate would form kind of like a canton.
Yeah. So now let's put it this way: a corporation, let's say, is the municipality, for instance. Right. In our town, the municipality can be a corporation, right? The political people are non-executive oversight. They get elected directly by the people. Okay. But the people actually running the show are not political.
Oh, that's great. It's like just basically people who know how to run businesses.
Correct. In other words, the best people get to actually do the work. So.
But how do they? How in the long? Okay, again, I understand that fascism is a quick fix, but how that's not really sustainable because it opens itself to a lot of corruption.
Everything we've seen already.
Yeah, I understand.
I'm not saying I didn't say it was perfect, but the idea was that was the solution to try and end the strife.
Well, I get where he was going. There was the will of the people, basically.
Yeah,
get played
direct will of the people.
Direct will of the people get played through in the management of the corporates. And okay, I get that. But I mean, the US is pretty much run like that. In a nutshell, the US is basically corporate fascism, I guess, in a nutshell.
Very close to. especially with not so much with the industry and that sort of thing, but especially in today's world with banking and finance.
Oh yeah,
that's what
the banks are fascist.
That's what really turns
the banks are fascist in the sense of extremely hard and that sort of thing, but they're not fascist in the sense of preserving a national identity.
No.
They're globalist fascists.
Yeah.
That's the worst. Paint everyone with one brush.
And look, the free mobility of finance does bring about some prosperity.
No, it does. I get it. Anyway, we're drifting over here.
Yeah.
I think we're just about ready to call it a night, eh?
Yeah, done.
We will be doing a elections stream on like a summary or whatever, like a recap or whatever on Friday with Dylan. I think it'll be good to have an American guy in that can talk us through the historical events and stuff in the US, across US elections and stuff. Basically, if there has ever been a situation like this similar to what happened now in the past and that sort of thing, which is what I'd be very interested to know. But we'll do that on Friday evening. This was just basically ranting about globalists again.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Russell, do you have any closing statements or anything?
I think I'll just say, as an individual, don't vote harder, just resist. Stop trying to vote harder and resist yourself.
Yeah, so that's the whole thing, is don't play into the plans in your life, in your family's life. Don't allow globalism to infiltrate its way into your family. That's the whole thing. So protect yourself against those sort of things and defend yourself and prepare to defend yourself from those.
When I say prepare to defend yourself, it's most likely what's in your mind, the way you see it. That's where you got to defend yourself.
Anyway, thank you so much for listening, guys. We'll see you all on Friday. Have a great evening, and remember, stay reactionary out there because
God wills it.